Live action anime adaptation. Words that, when put together, strike fear into the hearts of anime fans far and wide. Hollywood has consistently failed at properly adapting anime and manga we love to the small or big screen. I'm sure everyone remembers how atrocious the Dragon Ball Evolution movie was. However, movies like Alita Battle Angel and Edge of Tomorrow prove that they can make something good when they respect and understand the source material. Despite all of their critical and commercial failures, Hollywood is determined to try to adapt these Japanese stories in hopes of creating the next big hit show or movie. Today I'm going to talk about the 18 adaptations that are either in production or in development coming from Hollywood. Without further ado, let's get into the first one. First on the list is the sequel to the 2017 Death Note Netflix movie. Despite the negative reception by critics and fans such as myself, a sequel was announced back in August of 2018. The director of the first movie, Adam Wingard, stated that he originally pitched Death Note as a film series consisting of 2 or 3 films. There isn't much known about the Death Note sequel other than it having a new writer, Greg Russo, who has claimed to be a big fan of the manga. In his eyes, he thinks it's the best manga ever made. Russo has stated that he wants to draw more from the source material with the sequel and that he can see ways to capture what he loved about the manga. Russo said, quote, "There's really wonderful things in that manga. There's great characters to kind of work with. Everyone is going to put their unique spin on that, so you'll never see the exact same. For me, those characters are so integral to the story that I couldn't see them not intertwined with an adaptation." He also stated that the sequel won't exactly be what fans are expecting, which could mean that some major changes to the story will be made. Even with the new writer on board, I'm still not optimistic about this movie. Russo hasn't exactly proven himself to be a fantastic writer. In fact, he only has 3 writing credits to his name, with the most notable one being last year's Mortal Kombat, which had some really poor writing. He doesn't appear to have a lot of experience as a writer, so I have a hard time believing that he could write something that lives up to what Tsugumi Oba wrote. It's not known whether Adam Wingard will return, but Heroes actor Masaoka, who produced the first film, is returning as a producer. Like Russo, Masaoka claimed to be a big fan of Death Note and jumped at the chance to produce the first film to ensure that it stayed close to its roots. In an interview with Screen Rant last year, Oka stated that fan criticisms are being taken into account, saying, quote, "All I can say is that it's still in the works. Nothing has been decided either way. I can say that we are listening to the fans, and hopefully the fans will be happy with the direction we're going. As of right now, there hasn't been any casting news or release date announced for Death Note 2. In my opinion, they should just scrap the sequel and just reboot it as a series like what they did with Cowboy Bebop." Regardless of how you feel about the adaptation, I think we all can agree that it benefited from having the extra time that a TV series affords. It would be very hard to try to tell all of Death Note's story in a couple of films. One thing is for sure, they definitely need to bring back Willem Dafoe as Ryuk because that was perfect casting. Hopefully we'll get more news on this whenever they decide to start production. Next up is the live-action Steins series in development at Skydance Television. The show was announced back in January 2020 as part of the Steins 10th anniversary event, along with a teaser claiming that the show was coming soon. There has been no new information since its announcement, but it's assumed that it will be going to Netflix. Skydance has produced several shows for streaming services such as Altered Carbon, Jack Ryan, Foundation, and most recently, Amazon's Reacher. I haven't watched any of these shows, so I can't speak to their quality, but the critical reception of these shows has been mostly positive from what I've seen. With that said, I'm very skeptical that the studio can make a faithful adaptation. Steins Gate is a complex science fiction story involving time travel and different timelines, which is something that is very hard to write correctly. Hollywood couldn't adapt Death Note correctly, so chances are they might screw this one up too. Prior to the announcement of the Steins series, Skydance announced that they were developing a Sword Art Online show back in August of 2016. They stated that the series is being fast-tracked and that they intend to create other media that will be extensions from the live-action series, such as a virtual reality experience through Skydance Interactive. The show will be produced by Latte Kalogridis, David Ellison, Dana Goldberg, and Marcy Ross in collaboration with Kodakawa and Aniplex. Sword Art Online creator Reki Kawahara will also be involved with the show's development, which gives me hope that they won't completely butcher this adaptation. In regards to the show, Kawahara said, quote, "I'm excited and moved that Sword Art Online will be adapted into a live-action series by the highly respected Skydance Media. I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation and gratitude to everyone involved in this project, and to the fans all over the world who have so generously and enthusiastically supported Sword Art Online. Kalogridis will write the pilot episode and is most known for her work on Shutter Island, but has also written for Alita Battle Angel, Altered Carbon, and Terminator Genesis. Alita Battle Angel is one of the best attempts Hollywood has made when it comes to adapting manga or anime, so knowing that she wrote the screenplay for that is yet another beacon of hope. In regards to the announcement, Kalogridis said, quote, "For years I have been inspired by the inventive and masterful storytelling of the Sword Art Online franchise. I'm thrilled to get the opportunity to work with such talented partners to bring this cutting-edge yet timeless story to a new format at Skydance." Ellison and Goldberg have served as producers on a plethora of shows and movies such as The Tomorrow War, World War Z, Mission Impossible 7, Snake Eyes, Reacher, The Old Guard, and Star Trek Beyond. Marcy Ross doesn't have nearly as many producer credits to her name, but she has worked on several series including 10 Days in the Valley, Jack Ryan, and Altered Carbon. A couple years later, it was announced that the show was going to Netflix and that industry veterans Patrick Massett and John Zinman will serve as showrunners. Zinman and Massett have worked as producers on a bunch of shows such as The Blacklist, Friday Night Lights, and The Chicago Code. Kalogridis has made it clear that they don't intend to whitewash characters and that the main characters Kirito and Asuna will be played by Asian actors. She said, quote, "When I sold the show to Netflix, we were all on the same page. They are not interested in whitewashing it, and I'm not interested in whitewashing it." In terms of secondary characters, because the game is meant to be global, the way it's presented in the anime and in the light novels, there are secondary characters that clearly are from other parts of the world, like Klein and Angel. To me, it's very obvious when you watch it that you're meant to take that this game spans the globe, but Kirito and Asuna are very clearly located as kids from Japan and Tokyo, if I'm not mistaken. That is what we will be doing because that is the story. They are, in my mind anyway, much like Major Makoto Kusanagi in Ghost in the Shell, defined in part by being seminal characters in an Asian piece of art. That's the first and biggest thing. It's funny she mentions Ghost in a Shell because that was one of the complaints people had with that movie, with Scarlett Johansson playing the lead character. If you've been with this channel long enough, then you already know how I feel about the whole whitewashing thing. Cast the best person for the job regardless of the race, unless the race and the setting is vital to the story and characters. Anyway, later that year, a well-known anime reporter, Yonko Productions, posted on Twitter about the tone of the Netflix series and his concerns according to what he heard from sources. He stated that Netflix wanted the series to have a Narcos feel to it and that it will be super dark. Yonko Productions said, quote, "So I heard about what Netflix wanted to do with the Sword Art Online live action series, and it wasn't good. They have a specific idea for the type of content they want, even if it is against the core and spirit of the original, and as such, I don't have a shred of hope for the Cowboy Bebop series. No one has come out to deny his statements in regards to the tone, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction they want to take, given what I've read about another adaptation Netflix is doing. Sword Art Online has some dark moments in it, so I don't necessarily have a problem with them leaning into it where appropriate. However, the fact that they want the show to feel like Narcos is a bit concerning considering that those two properties couldn't be more different. I'm very curious to see how this show will turn out. A live-action Gantz movie from Sony Pictures was announced back in May of 2020. The film will be produced by Temple Hill Entertainment and the script will be written by Mark Guggenheim. Julius Avery, the director of the 2018 movie Overlord, is attached as director. There isn't much information out there regarding this one, but I don't have much faith in this one for a few reasons. The first red flag is Mark Guggenheim, one of the former producers of CW's Arrowverse shows. While I loved the first few seasons of Arrow, the show went downhill and got really stupid as it progressed. The Arrowverse shows have some really atrocious writing at times. Even outside those CW shows, Guggenheim hasn't exactly written for anything truly great, so I'm worried he isn't up to the task of adapting Gantz. The second thing that I'm worried about is the fact that they will likely have to remove and change a lot of stuff that was in the anime. I've only seen a handful of episodes from the 2004 anime, but based off of what I've seen, they're probably going to have to tone it down a lot. Gantz is a dark and bizarre show, and I can't see them getting away with some of the stuff that happens without some people getting angry at it. I think certain stuff might be seen as too mean-spirited, especially nowadays. Beyond that, the biggest cause for concern is the fact that the creator of Gantz, Hiroya Oku, isn't involved, and he doesn't sound too thrilled about the contract he signed. In an interview with Crunchyroll, he said, quote, "That's the Hollywood type of contract. They own all the adaptations including anime and live action except for manga. There's another spin-off called Gantz E that is currently being serialized in Young Jump right now, which has been allowed to be made by the producers, though an anime adaptation of that spin-off won't be. It's becoming such a pain, to be honest. It's likely the pandemic has paused a lot of the projects over there, and Gantz is probably one of them. If that's the case, I'd like to have my rights back." Oku found out about the live-action movie through Twitter. The fact that they haven't reached out to him to help ensure that they're staying true to the source material, since, like I said before, they're likely going to have to make some changes, is very concerning. The Gantz movie seems to be in very early development, so it may take a while before production starts. To be honest, I won't be surprised if this one never sees the light of day. Next up is the live-action Hellsing movie in development at Amazon Studios. As of right now, no director has been announced, nor has any casting been made, but John Wick creator Derek Kolstad will be writing the screenplay. Aside from John Wick, Kolstad is also written for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Nobody. If nothing else, this film should have some well-written action scenes. Kolstad claims to be a big fan of Hellsing, stating that he's been obsessed with adapting it ever since his brother introduced him to it. He will also serve as producer alongside Brian Kavanaugh Jones, Fred Berger, Mike Colohan, Jason Lieber, and Jason Lust. Tetsu Fujimura, India Osborne, Pierre Buffin, and Jason Spear will serve as executive producers. Given this movie is so early in development, there is no information regarding the release date or their approach to the story. We'll likely have to wait a bit for more news on this one. A film based on Masashi Kishimoto's Naruto was announced way back in 2016 and has been stuck in development hell since. Rumors of a potential feature film began to swirl back in July 2015 until finally an official announcement was made by Shonen Jump on December 17, 2016. The movie's director, Michael Gracie, confirmed back in March of 2018 that the adaptation was still happening over at Lionsgate, but has stressed that the project won't move forward without Kishimoto's involvement or a script that all parties are satisfied with. I definitely respect the fact that they refuse to just move forward without input from the series creator. That's a sign to me that they really care about putting out the best possible product for the fans, otherwise they probably would have fast-tracked things and moved on without Gracie or Kishimoto. The movie will be produced by Rad Productions alongside Eric Feig, who has worked on films like Twilight and The Hunger Games. Eric and John Hober will write the screenplay. The Hobers have written for films like Red, Battleship, and The Meg. Out of their entire filmography, the best thing that they've written is the first Red movie, so I'm not confident that they will be up to the task of adapting Kishimoto's work. According to scooper Daniel Rickman, Warm Bodies and Longshot director Jonathan Levine will handle writing the script. The only movie of his that I've seen is Warm Bodies, which I enjoyed, but he's mostly written for comedies, so it remains to be seen if he can write an action movie. As of right now, there's been no release date announced and no one has been officially cast. However, the director has stated that they're looking to cast teenagers for the roles of Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. A casting call has indicated that they're looking to cast Asian actors for those roles. They're looking to cast Asian actors for the villains and other characters too. This makes sense when you look at the world of Naruto, as it's very Japanese. With the exception of some ninja like Killer Bee from the Cloud Village, it makes total sense to go with a mostly Asian cast. Other than that casting call information, nothing else has been announced for the Naruto movie. I honestly doubt this thing will actually come to fruition at this point. I think the Naruto story is better served as a show rather than a movie. I couldn't see them getting too far into the story in just one movie unless they either rush or cut some stuff. We'll just have to wait and see what Lionsgate plans to do with the project. A couple years ago, Netflix announced on Twitter that a live-action series based on Yoshihiro Togashi's Yu Hakusho is coming in December 2023. The show will be produced by Robot, with Kazutaka Sakamoto serving as executive producer, alongside producer Teru Mori. No other details surrounding the project have been shared. Without knowing who is writing and directing this, I can't speculate on how well this will turn out. I think the show can be adapted properly, but will require a big budget and production. Whenever this comes out, expect certain aspects of Yusuke to be turned down a bit. He did a lot of stuff in that show that won't fly today, unfortunately. I'm praying they don't ruin Keiko or Botan by screwing them up, similar to what was done with Faye in Cowboy Bebop. Given that this show is only a year away and the anime will be celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, I expect we'll be getting more news on this show sometime this year. A live-action adaptation of the popular Attack on Titan series is in development over at Warner Bros. Announced by Basato Shonen Magazine in 2018, the film will be directed by Andy Muschietti and produced by David Heyman, Masi Oka, and Andy's sister Barbara. Muschietti, who is best known for his work on It Chapter 1 and 2 and Mama, had this to say about the project, quote, "I am fascinated by Attack on Titan. It is a story that I followed first with the anime and then reading the manga. I find it fascinating. There are many themes that have stuck out to me and I want to talk about. It is also an interesting horror adventure. There are all aspects of human drama. That's why I really want to do it. Regarding the film adaptation, it has been many years since the negotiations began, but finally the day has arrived. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who put great effort into making this a reality. Thanks for everything you have done so far, and please continue to support us." It's unclear if series creator Hajime Isayama is involved with this project, but this is what he had to say regarding the announcement. Quote, "I have always fantasized that one day my own manga would be accepted and acknowledged around the world. Now that this has come true, I feel utterly fortunate and I can't be happier about it." Information regarding the writers, casting, or a release date has yet to be announced. A live-action film based on One Punch Man was announced back in April of 2020. The movie is in the early stages of development at Sony Pictures and will be produced by Arad Productions. It will be written by Scott Rosenberg and Jeff Pinkner. In addition to writing for Venom and Jumanji: The Next Level, the duo also served as executive producer on Cowboy Bebop. Although I personally didn't hate Cowboy Bebop, the fact that they were associated with Netflix's latest failure is an immediate red flag. Furthermore, their filmography isn't exactly impressive outside of Pinkner working on Fringe and Rosenberg writing for Gone in 60 Seconds. No director has signed on yet and casting hasn't begun, but according to Daniel Rickman, Sony was in talks with Jake Kasdan to direct. However, now Rickman claims that the company is thinking about getting the Eternals director, Chloe Zhao. Eternals is far from the best MCU film, but based off of how she handled the large-scale blockbuster fight scenes, I would say she would be an excellent choice. The Scooper has also claimed that Sony's looking at Henry Golding to play Saitama. Not too familiar with this actor, so I can't really say whether he'd be a good fit for the role. He played in Crazy Rich Asians and Snake Eyes. To be honest, I have a hard time believing Rickman's claims, so I would take all this with a grain of salt. Whoever they get to play Saitama, I just hope it isn't a big star like The Rock or Jason Statham. Regardless, I just can't see them doing the source material justice. Not with these writers and production team. It would have been much easier for them to just adapt one's other manga, Mob Psycho 100. We might have to wait for this one a bit longer given how Sony shuffled their release schedule due to the pandemic. A live-action series based on Kaiju Shirai's The Promised Neverland is currently in development at Amazon. Fox 21 will produce with executive producers Rodney Rothman, Megan Malloy, Macy Oka, Roy Lee, and Mary Yoon. Rothman, who co-wrote and co-directed Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, will also direct the movie. Malloy, who also worked as a production consultant on the Spider-Verse movie, will write the scripts. Considering that Rothman wrote for the Spider-Verse movie, there's a small chance that he won't completely butcher the source material. However, this show will mark his first time directing a live-action series, which I think is a big issue. There's a difference between directing an animated film and directing a series with actors. I'm no expert on the subject, but I would think that there are certain expertise you need to direct a live-action show that Rothman likely won't possess. Considering how Cloverworks handled Season 2 of the Promised Neverland anime, this may be our chance to see a more faithful adaptation of the manga. As of right now, there has been no news on casting, a possible release date, or whether Shirai will be involved in the development process. It's unclear how familiar Rothman is with the series, so having the creator on board would potentially help to avoid him straying away from what people like about The Promised Neverland. I'm hoping for the best with this project, but I'm also prepared for the worst. A feature film based on Made in Abyss is currently in early development at Columbia Pictures. Reported by Deadline on June 25th last year, the movie will be produced by Roy Lee from Vertigo Entertainment alongside Macy Oka, with Kevin McMullen directing. No other details surrounding the movie has been shared by the studio. McMullen only has 3 credits as a director and one of them is for a short. He hasn't done a ton of work or anything notable, so I'm very skeptical that they got the right person for the job. Once again, this is another adaptation where the author, Akihito Sakushi, may not be involved, which as I said before is a red flag. Hopefully they can hire some writers that really understand the manga and consult with the author to ensure that they're staying true to their original vision. Legendary Pictures is currently developing a Gundam series for Netflix. Officially announced back at Anime Expo 2018, the film will be directed and produced by Jordan Vogt-Roberts. Executive producer Cale Boiter and Mary Parent will oversee the project alongside Makoto Asanuma from Sunrise, the animation studio behind the Gundam franchise. Brian K. Vaughan, creator of Y the Last Man, is also on board as a executive producer and will write the screenplay. Nao Hiroshi Ogata will serve as producer as well. No other information has been released, but Netflix did show off concept art of a RX-78-2 model Gundam last year during the Netflix Japan Festival. This is the iconic Gundam from the original series and could indicate that they will be adapting content from that era of the franchise. Vogt-Roberts might be a good fit to tackle a franchise featuring massive robots since he has experience directing a large-scale action movie with Kong Skull Island. He's also a longtime fan of the franchise who has a collection of Gundam models. Vogt-Roberts says that he wants to, quote, do justice to Tomino-san's iconic and original vision. However, the Gundam series is more than just an action series, and I remain skeptical that they will retain the complexity of the story and the characters found in that franchise. Hollywood has failed at adapting properties with a much smaller scale and scope, so it's hard for me to have hope that this will be any good. I can see this turning out as a generic popcorn flick that doesn't nail the characters or capture the essence of the story. Here's hoping that I'm totally wrong about that. Last July, Variety reported that a live-action Pokemon series was in early development over at Netflix. Lucifer showrunner Joe Henderson will produce and write the series. A few months later, the Illuminati reported that Netflix is also making a movie and that the show will be connected to it. The film is meant to be a reboot of the franchise and will therefore not be connected to Detective Pikachu. The show is said to be similar to Detective Pikachu, which has me concerned they won't focus on Pokemon battles and adapting material from the traditional games or manga. The 2019 live-action film featured a very brief Pokemon battle in one scene, and it really made me want something more in line with the main series of games. I want to see a show that adapts the first generation of games, that follows a trainer's journey to become champion of the Pokemon League. I really hope that they do something like that for the series. I don't think it would be wise to try to tell the story of a trainer taking on the different gym leaders and the Pokemon League all in one movie, so that TV format would be perfect for that. Maybe the movie could focus on a different character like a gym leader or a professor. As of right now, Netflix hasn't made an official announcement, so we'll have to wait for more details. A remake of Your Name is in the works at Paramount, with J.J. Abrams' company Bad Robot producing, alongside Genki Kawamura and Toho. The live-action remake was announced back in 2017 by J.J. Abrams and Eric Heisserer. This film is currently without a director, as Mark Webb left back in 2019, and Lee Isaac Chung exited the project last year due to scheduling conflicts. Chung was also hired to rewrite the script Emily V. Gordon wrote with Heisserer. Toho has requested that the film have a more Western viewpoint, stating that if they wanted a Japanese perspective, they would just do it themselves. The remake will now center on two young people, a Native American woman from a rural area and a man from Chicago, that discover they have the power to intermittently swap bodies. Many fans aren't pleased with this change to the characters and setting. No news regarding casting or a theatrical release date has been shared publicly. A live-action One Piece show is currently in production at Netflix by Tomorrow Studios. Previously going under the working title Project Roger, the series was first announced on July 21st, 2017 by Weekly Shonen Jump editor-in-chief Hiroyuki Nakano to commemorate the manga's 20th anniversary. The official announcement that the show would be streaming exclusively on Netflix came in January 2020, but their involvement with the project was leaked in March 2019. Netflix revealed the show's logo on September 3rd, 2021, and production officially started on January 31st, 2022. President of Tomorrow Studios Becky Clements and Marty Adelstein are serving as producers, alongside executive producer and showrunner Steven Mieta. The series is also executive produced by One Piece publisher Shueisha and Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Luke Cage writer Matt Owens wrote the scripts under the supervision of Oda. Season 1 will consist of 10 episodes, with the budget being $9 to $10 million per episode, which is comparable to HBO's Game of Thrones. Adelstein has said that this is one of the most expensive shows ever done in television. Netflix posted a picture of the first episode script, which is titled Romance Dawn, on the same day they revealed the show's logo. This appears to be the same script that allegedly leaked a couple years ago. The first episode will be directed by Mark Jobist, who previously worked on Daredevil, The Punisher, and The Witcher. The main cast was finally announced on November 9th, 2021. Inaki Godoy is playing Monkey D. Luffy, McKinyu is playing Roronoa, Emily Rudd is playing Nami, Jacob Romero Gibson is playing Usopp, and Taz Schuyler is playing Sanji. I'm not familiar with any of these actors, but based on a short reaction video posted by the series' official Twitter account, Rudd and Gibson seem like they have the right energy and personality for their roles. I'm not so sure about Schuyler given his accent and his look, but as long as he can portray Sanji correctly, that's all that really matters. I'm cautiously optimistic about this show given Oda's involvement and the fact that the writer's a big One Piece fan who had to convince the author to greenlight the project. Owens told Oda how the author's work helped him out in a rough time in his life, and explained to him what he thought was special about One Piece's story. If it wasn't for Netflix's bad track record and the fact that this is the same studio that brought us Cowboy Bebop, I would be much more confident in the show being a success. I just hope that someone at Tomorrow Studios looked at what didn't work about that show and learned some lessons on what not to do with this. I'm a big One Piece fan, so I'll be pissed the same way the Cowboy Bebop fans were if they screw this up. But this looks to have a better chance at being good than most adaptations. The show is currently filming in Cape Town, South Africa, and although no release date has been announced, I imagine we'll probably get more news this year, possibly a trailer. A live-action movie based on Koei Hirokoshi's My Hero Academia is in development at Legendary Entertainment. Announced back in October of 2018, the film will be produced by Alex Garcia and Jay Ashenfelter alongside Ryosuke Yoritomi on behalf of Shueisha. Toho will distribute the movie in Japan. 3 years after the initial announcement, Shinsuke Sato was hired to direct the film. The project still has no writers, nor has any casting been made. There also hasn't been any mention of Hirokoshi being involved, which isn't a good sign. Sato has a lot of experience adapting anime properties, as he's worked on Bleach, Alice in Borderland, Gantz, and a couple Death Note movies. However, it's worth mentioning that this will be his first English language film. There's a lot we don't know about the My Hero Academia movie, such as whether it will take place in Japan or in the United States, or whether they plan to cast Asian actors to fill the roles of Hirokoshi's iconic characters. If they do decide to cast anyone regardless of race, I could see them casting John Cena as All Might, giving a nod to him in the promotional material for the latest animated movie. While I'm not a fan of the actor, I honestly wouldn't mind him playing All Might over obvious choices like The Rock. I think most fans would probably prefer they go with an all-Asian cast and keep it set in Japan. Since there are heroes all over the world in My Hero Academia, they could set it here in the USA and westernize it a bit, but I don't think that's a good idea. We already have plenty of superhero movies that take place in the West and reflect our culture. Now is probably the perfect time for this adaptation given the series' popularity and that people clearly aren't getting tired of superhero movies. This property could bring something different to the table compared to what Marvel and DC is putting out, although we've already had something similar many years ago with the Disney movie Sky High. Hopefully they will bring a writer on board who's a fan of the show and will do their best to respect the source material. I'm still not confident that the movie will turn out well, even with an experienced director and producers that have worked on big budget blockbusters on board. My Hero Academia has some stuff in it that I don't think will translate well to live action. Until we get more information on this and have a clear understanding of the direction they want to take with it, I have no hope that this will succeed. A live-action remake of Nickelodeon's beloved series Avatar: The Last Airbender is currently in production at Netflix. The show was first announced in 2018 and will be directed by Michael Goy, Roseanne Liang, Lindsay Liberatore, and Jabbar Razani. Liang and Goy will serve as executive producers alongside showrunner and writer Albert Kim. Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, the creators of Avatar, were once involved with the remake, but departed due to creative differences. Kim has expressed his love for the series and how he sees this as a chance to showcase Asian and indigenous characters as living and breathing people. On August 12th, Netflix revealed the main cast consisting of Gordon Cormier as Aang, Gail Wendigo-Tarbell as Katara, Ian Owsley as Sokka, and Dallas Liu as Prince Zuko. 3 months later, the company announced the casting for Fire Lord Ozai, Commander Zhao, Uncle Iroh, and Gyatso, who will be played by Daniel Dae Kim, Ken Leung, Paul Sun Hyung Lee, and Liam Kcu, respectively. A month later, Netflix announced the casting for 5 more characters. Elizabeth Yu as Azula, Maria Zhang as the Kyoshi warrior leader Suki, Tamlin Tomita as Suki's mother Yukari, Yvonne Chapman as Avatar Kyoshi, and Casey Camp Hornick as Sokka and Katara's grandmother. Filming began for the show last November in Vancouver and could release sometime this year or early 2023. After the first day of shooting, the actor portraying Uncle Iroh posted a video praising the main cast, calling Gordon Cormier a revelation and Gail Wendigo-Tarbell a crafted actress, as well as stating that Dallas Liu's performance blew him away and predicting that Ian Owsley will steal every scene he's in. I was a big fan of Avatar growing up, and the last thing us fans want to see is another horrible adaptation. There are some scenes in Marvel's Shang-Chi that proves that Avatar could definitely work well in live action. Although I think this one might turn out better than the M. Night Shyamalan movie from 2010, there are a few red flags that make me believe this latest attempt may end up being terrible. On a Netflix blog post, Kim has stated that they want to reimagine the story and expand the world, but has also stressed the importance of authenticity in regards to Avatar's story, characters, and cultural influences. He claimed that he doesn't want to change things for no reason or modernize the story to adhere to current trends. A lot of Kim's full post sounds good on paper, and I do like that even he initially questioned why they were remaking the show. However, the fact that the original creators left and the rumor regarding the direction and tone of the series makes me think this will be another failed adaptation for the Screaming Giant. According to industry insider Daniel Rickman, Netflix wants the show to be darker, more mature, and sexier than the original cartoon. I don't want to believe this after reading Kim's statement, however, this does seem like something that the company would do. I surely hope that this isn't true because Avatar already had some dark moments in it and contained things that you wouldn't expect from a children's show. It was something that kids and adults could enjoy, which was an aspect that Kim describes in this post. Avatar has more substance to it than your average cartoon. There isn't a need to make its content more mature to try to appeal to more people or distinguish it from the original. If what Rickman claims is true, then that was probably one of the factors that made the original creators decide to leave. Upon the announcement of their departure, DiMartino made a blog post stating that, quote, "When Brian and I signed on to the project in 2018, we were hired as executive producers and showrunners. In a joint announcement for the series, Netflix said that it was committed to honoring our vision for this retelling and to supporting us on creating the series. And we expressed how excited we were for the opportunity to be at the helm. Unfortunately, things did not go as we had hoped. Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar has the potential to be good. It might turn out to be a show that many of you end up enjoying. But what I can be certain about is that whatever version ends up on screen, it will not be what Brian and I had envisioned or intended to make." This post, along with the one made by Konietzko on Instagram, make it clear that they lost creative control and that the company didn't support them like they initially promised. He wrote, quote, "When Netflix brought me on board to run this series alongside Mike 2 years ago, they made a very public promise to support our vision. Unfortunately, there was no follow-through on that promise. Though I got to work with some great individuals, both on Netflix's side and on our own development team, the general handling of the project created what I felt was a negative and unsupportive environment. To be clear, this was not a simple matter of us not getting our way. Mike and I are collaborative people. We did not need all of the ideas to come from us. As long as we felt those ideas were in line with the spirit and integrity of Avatar, we would have happily embraced them. However, we ultimately came to the belief that we would not be able to meaningfully guide the direction of the series. I will continue to be deeply involved in the Avatar universe, telling the stories my partner and I want to tell in the way we want to tell them. I will put my time, energy, and talents towards the projects that give me the most fulfillment, where I am afforded trust and respect. Life is too short to do otherwise. I'm very eager to see how this series turns out without their involvement. Here's hoping it isn't a massive train wreck." I've been keeping my eye out for news regarding these live-action adaptations for years, but I was completely in the dark about a Knights of the Zodiac movie coming from Sony Pictures. The most recent announcement of the cast following the wrapping of production probably came out of nowhere for a lot of people. This one has been in the works for years, with its initial announcement back in 2017 and was planned to start filming in the summer of 2019. They finally began shooting last year in Budapest and Hungary. The film will be produced by Tomek Bagininski, who previously was a producer on the Witcher series and was nominated for an Oscar for one of his animated shorts. The screenplay was written by Will Giger, Josh Campbell, Matthew Stewukin, Kiel Murray, Blajej Jakowinski, and Eugene Sun. Among the Knights of the Zodiac cast are two instantly recognizable actors, Famke Janssen, who played Jean Grey in Fox's X-Men, and Sean Bean from Game of Thrones. Their involvement makes me believe that maybe this will, at the very least, be a decent movie. Beyond that, the fact that the author, Masami Kurumada, has allowed this project to be made must mean they're going to stay true to the source material. Kurumada was approached many years ago about a Hollywood adaptation of his works, but he decided not to move forward based on the pilot not capturing the essence of his work. In addition to Bean and Jensen, the film will also star Madison Eastman, Mackenyu, Diego Tinoco, Nick Stahl, and Mark Dacascos. The film will be an origin story centered on Seiya's journey to master the Pegasus armor and defend the reincarnated goddess Sienna from a mysterious assassin. Mackenyu will play Seiya, Bean will be Alman Kido, Eastman will play Sienna, and Dacascos was cast as the assassin. The roles for the remaining cast has yet to be specified. Andy Ching, who previously worked on Shang-Chi, is the stunt choreographer, so at the very least the fights should be decent. I remember watching the anime on Toonami as a kid and enjoying it. I'm not going to pretend to be a hardcore fan, but I am looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. The Knights of the Zodiac film is scheduled to release sometime next year, so we won't have to wait long to see how this one turns out. And there you have it. Those are all the movies and shows that are currently in the works. Which ones are you most excited for? Are there any that you think have a chance at being good? Perhaps there are some that you might think will fail. Whatever you think about these upcoming movies and shows, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.